Welcome to Two Keto Dudes Fix Diabetes Part 2.
Hi, I'm Richard Morris from Canberra, Australia, and I've been on a ketogenic diet for 3 years. When I started, I was very sick with complications from type 2 diabetes. And within 6 months of starting a ketogenic diet, all of my biomarkers of disease had disappeared. I've lost about 80 pounds and I've completely turned my health around.
Hi, I'm Carl Franklin from New London, Connecticut in the United States. And in February 2016, I put myself on a ketogenic diet to take control of my metabolism. In just 2.5 months, I managed to reverse all my markers of type 2 diabetes with diet alone. As of now, I'm 80 pounds lighter with no signs of diabetes or heart disease.
We're not doctors, we can't give any medical advice. We just want to share what we did to reverse our type 2 diabetes and the science behind that.
And we have published a list of what we consider critical scientific research at science.2keto.com. And please read it if you have concerns, and please talk to your doctor before starting any change in diet and lifestyle.
Be prepared for your doctor to have little to no knowledge of and or experience with a ketogenic diet, but consider Dr. Eric Westman. He has treated over 4,000 type 2 diabetic patients using a ketogenic diet as the first therapy with a 100% success rate.
Absolutely. We're both software developers, so we're definitely not afraid of a little technical detail.
No, we are not. We actually went to the Alamo in San Antonio, Texas recently. We did a corporate presentation. In fact, we did 2 corporate presentations, and we tested our audience's blood before the presentation. So we knew how many were type 2 diabetic, pre-diabetic, how many were normal, and how many were healthy, which is not quite the same thing as normal. And we're ready to do that same presentation to any corporate group.
And that's why we're making this video, so that you can see what we did there, and maybe we can do it for you too.
That's right.
So in part 2, we're going to talk about the ketogenic diet and how we used it to fix our type 2 diabetes.
Right.
And I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. This is Les Haley, and he's a bass player musician originally from Mystic, Connecticut, where I grew up. And before October 2016, when he started a ketogenic diet, his A1C was 9-something.
Wow.
He was taking 70 units of insulin a day. He had a couple other medications. He was really overweight. Neuropathy was happening in his feet. He was starting to get tingling sensations. He was constantly tired. He had absolutely no energy.
And as you can see from our part 1, at an A1C of 9.0, Les was on the other side of the point of no return. He was only going to get worse.
Yep. So this is a picture of Les today. He's lost over 100 pounds. His A1C is 5.0. No insulin, no medications, no neuropathy, full of energy. By all effects, he does not have type 2 diabetes anymore. And he attributes it to bacon and eggs.
So what is a ketogenic diet, Carl?
Well, a ketogenic diet drastically reduces blood glucose, and therefore there's a reduction in insulin, which gives your pancreas a rest, and therefore there's a reduction in inflammation. And as Richard said in part 1, insulin is sufficient and necessary to cause atherosclerosis,
Right.
which is caused by inflammation. So you reduce your inflammation, and you now have the ability to burn body fat for fuel.
Right.
As we said in part 1, insulin is the switch. When it's on, you burn glucose. When it's off, you burn body fat. And therefore, you have an increased amount of energy.
Right.
And also, you're outputting more salt and electrolytes, which is a problem that a lot of people run into on the ketogenic diet. They don't take enough salt.
Yes.
So, Richard, practically speaking, how do we do the ketogenic diet?
Okay, so a ketogenic diet is 20 grams or less of carbohydrate per day. Green leafy vegetables, nuts, high-fat dairy, cheese, heavy cream, eggs have a little bit of carbohydrate. You really want to limit your sugar and starch. And then you want to get a moderate amount of protein, which is, for me, is roughly between 1 gram to 1.5 grams of protein for every kilogram of lean body mass. Roughly between 65 grams and 100 grams of protein a day. And then you want to eat fat to satiety. Fat is where you're going to get your energy from. And satiety tells you how much you need to supplement your existing body fat's production of energy. So when you're hungry, eat pure fat or fatty proteins.
And you want to make sure you get enough salt.
Roughly 5 grams per day.
So you may recognize a food pyramid here, but it's radically different from the one that you're used to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, radically different. All the fats are at the bottom. The meats are next. The dairy and the vegetables and nuts and berries at the top.
So where are all the breads and healthy whole grains?
Oh, they're not there. Those are pure evil. So let's talk about foods to avoid. Bread, pasta, rice, starches like potatoes, even sweet potatoes, sugar, high fructose corn syrup, corn, wheat, flour, legumes, beans, fruits, except for some berries,
Right.
and milk, especially skim, and vegetable oils too. Foods that you want to eat are meats, especially the fatty cuts of meats,
Yeah.
green leafy veg, eggs and dairy, cheese, oils like olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, lard, butter, tallow, etc.
Yeah.
Nuts and seeds, avocados, cabbages like cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, some berries, not too many berries, but a few berries a day are okay. Heavy cream, tea and coffee, unsweetened, of course, and water and extra salt.
Right.
Go without saying.
Yeah.
So you're going to expect a decrease in appetite and cravings.
Sure.
And it's really true that people on a low-carb diet tend to eat less. And that's because they are satiated more with extra fat, and they don't have the cravings of that carbohydrates and sugar actually give you. It's not a hunger signal, it's a addiction signal.
Right. So people on a low-carb diet can actually fuel adequately based on their satiation signals, which is something for those of us who are type 2 diabetic, our satiation signals were causing us to increase our storage.
You can also expect carbohydrate withdrawal. Some people call this the Atkins flu or the keto flu, but it's basically carbohydrate withdrawal. And what's happening is your kidneys are flushing all your salt and electrolytes, not all of it, but a lot more, the natural amount of salt and electrolytes out of your body. Also, magnesium is a big deficiency. This is something that you'll hold on to more of if you just eat salt. But you may need to soak your feet in Epsom salts.
Yeah.
Or take a magnesium supplement.
Yeah, for some people, eating magnesium ends up with gut distress. So it's actually a kinder way to your gut to take it transdermally through your skin.
Exactly. You'll have an increase in energy and stamina. You'll be able to exercise for longer.
And you'll want to. That's the important thing. See, when your insulin is high, you are sending all of your energy to storage. The rest of your body is running out of energy. You don't feel like exercising. But when your insulin drops because of how you change your diet, all of a sudden your body fat is now releasing energy into your blood supply. You have an excess of energy. And believe me, you will feel like going out and exercising.
You'll want to get up and move.
Yeah.
Increased mental acuity is also something you can expect. You'll be able to remember things that you couldn't before. You'll just have a sharp mind. Recall will happen fast.
Yeah.
This is just a very well-known side effect of the ketogenic diet.
And if you go on a ketogenic diet and then ever go off it, you'll see the brain fog come back and you'll go, oh, wow, that's what it was like all the time. And so for a lot of people, ketogenic diet keeps that brain fog away.
Now, after 4 or 5 weeks, if you stick to it and you don't fall off the wagon too much, you will be fat adapted. And what happens is your body is now completely used to and being efficient at burning fat for fuel, generating ketone bodies for additional fuel. And it doesn't forget how to process glucose, but obviously it's going to say, oh, I like this fat metabolism much better. It gets more adapted to it. And now you have a superpower.
Yeah, your body adapts to leave glucose for those tissues that have to have glucose, like the brain and the red blood cells. So it's called glucose sparing.
So this is a really nice diagram that shows the difference between a carb burner and a fat burner. A carb burner can only store about 2,000 calories in sugar energy in the body, and then it has to be replenished.
Yeah, it's all stored in glycogen in the liver and in the muscles.
And so if you are fat adapted, now you have your body fat as a store of energy. And as you know, you have to do a lot of exercise before you get rid of all that body fat.
Well, a lot of people are walking around with 50,000 plus kilocalories of energy just available to be tapped. Especially for endurance athletes, fat adapted metabolism is going to get you in the race for longer.
Absolutely. Also, this is the first diet I've ever been on that actually gets easier the more you stay in ketosis.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, most diets, especially the reduced calorie, low-fat, high-exercise diets. They're great when you start out because your enthusiasm is up, your confidence level is up, but you slowly begin to notice that your body is working against you and it really doesn't like what you're doing to it.
Right.
And eventually you end up gaining the weight back. It gets more and more difficult to stay on it. The ketogenic diet, by contrast, is much, much easier the more you get into it. So the first 4 or 5 weeks are probably the most critical point, after which you will be fat adapted, you'll have that superpower, and it'll just keep getting easier and easier. You won't want bread. You won't want sweets.
That's true.
And it's hard to consider that now. But this is what I like to say to people. You have poison ivy. Your legs itch, and you can't imagine not being able to scratch the itch. But what if you could just get rid of poison ivy? Wouldn't that be best?
Right.
I think so. Now, this is also very important. If you fall off the horse, if you find yourself at Taco Bell at 2 a.m, who would do that? I did that.
Yeah. Were you wearing pants?
Yeah, I was,
Well,
actually.
that's a
Sweats,
relief.
though. Do they count? So the key is to get right back on the horse with a big plate of bacon and eggs in the morning.
Bacon and eggs.
Bacon and eggs are your friend, and every time you fall off the horse, you start over again with bacon and eggs.
Absolutely.
Good advice. Now, there are forces working against you.
Yeah.
Soda, for example.
Right.
Now, when we went to this place in San Antonio, one of them anyway, the soda was completely free,
Yeah, as much soda as you wanted.
as much as you can possibly handle.
Yeah.
However, a bottle of water was $1.
It was $1.
Yeah. I wonder why. Also, there was no end to the amount of carby snacks that these people at this workplace had at their disposal.
Well, this is a tech company, and this is typical of tech companies that they like to keep people fed with snacks so that they don't go off the reservation and keep at their desks working.
Yeah, because we think that that quick shot of energy is going to be good for them.
Right.
Well, it might be good for the short term, but not for the long term. Let's take a look at some of these. Cashew Crunch. This looks like something that's healthy. Cashews, nuts.
They're nuts, yes.
Healthy. Let's look at the carbohydrates. Ooh, 15 grams.
That's in a 35-gram packet, so that's almost half sugar and starch.
Funyuns.
Yeah, they're vegetables, right?
Of course. They're made with onions, I think.
And they're fun.
Well, let's take a look. 14 grams of carbohydrate.
In a 21-gram packet. So that's 2/3 of that packet is sugar and starch.
Fritos, everybody's favorite. We know they're not good for us, but we think it's the fat that they're fried in.
Right.
Actually, it's the 16 grams of carbohydrates.
It's the starch which turns directly into glucose.
How about pretzels?
Right.
That was a staple of mine when I was doing a low-fat diet.
Nice savory snack. It's got salt. It's low fat.
Low
it's
fat,
100 calories. It's
non-GMO.
non-GMO, less than 1 gram of sugar.
Yeah.
They're good, right?
22 grams of carbs.
In a 26-gram packet. That's almost 90% sugar and starch.
That's about 5 teaspoons of sugar.
That's a lot of sugar.
Now, we did find some meat-ish. Teriyaki beef jerky.
Well, that sounds kind of keto, doesn't it?
Yeah, some maybe a paleo, right? Because they had jerky back then.
Right.
Well, let's see how many carbs. Okay, there's 8 grams of carbs per
Okay.
serving. That's better. But look at the second ingredient.
It's
Brown sugar.
So there's more brown sugar in it than there is soy sauce and water. Incredible.
Not good. By comparison, these are some macadamia nuts that Richard brought over from Australia when he came to visit.
Yeah.
And by the way, they go really great with chocolate brownies.
Delicious with chocolate brownies.
But let's take a look at the carbohydrates here. 1.4 grams per serving.
Yeah.
Also note the serving size is smaller.
Yeah. 30 grams. So 1.4 grams in 30 grams. And also notice the third column there. This is something that's unique to Australia, and it's a column that of data that would be really useful in the US. What it shows us is the quantity of each of these nutritional values per a standard size of 100 grams. So you can actually look across the column and see, carbohydrates are 4.5 grams of carbohydrates in 100 grams.
So, or 4.5%.
4.5%. And if you have 2 different types of macadamias, you can compare, and one might be 4.5% and the other might be 4.6%. You know which ones you want to get.
Exactly. Now let's talk about my favorite food group.
Bacon.
As you can see, very, very low in carbohydrate, 0.1 gram. And
Right.
probably that's just because some of the sugar that it's cured in and then
Sure.
washed off.
Mhm.
But it's not a whole lot. Now, take a look at the protein down at the bottom there and the total fat. They're just about equal. So, but there's a little bit more fat than protein. So when I look for bacon in the store, I look for the fattiest cuts of bacon I can possibly find.
Right.
Let's talk about brie. Brie is a party cheese, something that you don't have all the time. It's very elegant and decadent. However,
It's also very delicious.
very delicious and practically no carbohydrates. 0.6 gram per cup.
Right.
1 cup.
144 grams. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you take a look at the fat, there's a lot of fat, 40 grams, and there's less, but a lot of protein also, 30 grams.
Yeah.
So, that's a really good snack, and you don't need a whole bunch of it. I actually like to put brie on bacon.
Of course you do.
Yeah. So we're going to give you some tips for eating out.
Mhm.
McDonald's, everybody's favorite place in the whole wide world.
Right.
You can basically take double cheeseburgers, triple cheeseburgers, or even regular cheeseburgers, get no ketchup, remove the bun, and eat them without the bun.
Yeah. Or you could ask for a Big Mac without special sauce and with mayonnaise instead. Sometimes I'll do that for you. Special sauce has a bit more sugar in it. Mayonnaise has none.
So how would you eat said double? Like this. Now, granted, that's a lot of meat. That's if you're going to eat one meal a day, that's about your protein limit for the day.
Right.
Yeah.
And your hands are going to get a little bit greasy, but who doesn't get greasy hands when eating a burger at McDonald's?
Exactly. Just use the wrapper if you want to put it in something.
Right.
Now, in San Antonio, we went to the Wyndham Hotel Riverwalk, and we spent some time going over this presentation there. And we looked at the menu and talked to the chef, and we found out they had this queso, which is just melted cheese with some hot peppers in it and things. And turns out it didn't have any flour or starch in it.
Well, we asked the chef, didn't we?
We
said,
did.
do you put flour in your queso? Because some use cornstarch.
Yeah.
And he said, no. And then we asked him, well, the fried avocado that's breaded, can you fry some avocado that's unbreaded? He said, sure, not a problem.
Yeah. So then we got some chipotle mayo on the side. That's what it comes with. You got a side of bacon. And we also got steak fajitas without the starch, the beans, the rice tortillas. And the chef was more than happy to help us. And this is what it looked like.
And it was a delicious meal.
Yeah. Well, you can go to any steakhouse and get a fatty ribeye steak with extra garlic butter or just extra butter. Oh. Look at that butter. You can go to any pizza joint and ask for pizza on a plate or in a dish. Just take the toppings that you like, put them on a plate with no sauce, throw it in the oven to melt. And this is a steak bomb pizza that we got here in New London during Keto Fest.
Yeah, all you have to do is tell them that you're willing to pay full price, but you don't need the crust.
Can't eat it.
Yeah, it'll be cheaper for them to make.
Everybody loves wings. Now, just make sure there's no breading. Usually there isn't with buffalo wings. So buffalo sauce and blue cheese dressing are okay. But if you get another sauce, absolutely make sure there's no sugar and starch.
Right.
Some nice wings there, if I do say so
wings,
myself.
Yeah.
So we have some other substitutions to share with you. There's a lot of low-carb and supposedly low-carb breads out there. The best one that we found is Fox Hill Kitchens. They actually make a bread with yeast out of almond flour and coconut flour and psyllium husk, and it's about as close to bread as it gets.
Yeah, they actually came to Keto Fest and made grilled cheese sandwiches.
Yeah, they were delicious, and I remember giving one to Professor Richard David Feynman.
Yes.
And then we took his ketones a few hours later, and he was in solid ketosis.
Yeah. He announced to his surprise that bread had no glucose in it.
Yep. There are also recipes in our archive for almond buns that you make in the microwave, oopsie bread that you can make with eggs and cream cheese, and of course Carl's Head Pizza, which is a very low-carb pizza crust made with almond flour, cream cheese, mozzarella, a little xanthan gum, and some salt.
And you can find Fox Hill Kitchens at bread.2keto.com.
And all our recipes at recipes.2keto.com.
Right.
So this is a picture of the bacon, egg, and cheese on a everything bagel from Fox Hill that I pretty much eat for breakfast every morning.
That's delicious. What you do is you have a sunny side egg and you put the bagel over the top of it and it just punctures the yolk and the yolk comes up like a yolky volcano. It's delicious.
It's delicious. This is the oopsie bread that we make from egg yolks, egg whites that are whipped, and some cream cheese. And you bake them in the oven. Really good bread. This is the Carl's Head pizza crust. And this is a staple in our community.
Yeah. And it's made mostly of cheese, isn't it?
Yeah. So for sweet things, we do use sweeteners that are non-sugar and low carb.
We do.
Swerve is a big favorite among people. It's a combination of erythritol and stevia.
Yeah. I like using sucralose a lot, which is in Splenda.
Yep. You can use stevia by itself. One brand that we like is Better Stevia because it's not so bitter and works really well in drinks.
You can also use xylitol, but that is poisonous to dogs. So, if you have dogs, don't leave that lying around.
Right. Sweeteners to avoid are saccharin, which is in Sweet and Low, the pink stuff.
Yeah.
Aspartame, which is in Equal and also in Diet Coke and in Diet Pepsi. And any form of sugar, including honey, molasses, and natural sugars, fructose, lactose, anything with an ose. Try to avoid that.
Or anything with a syrup in it, like agave syrup or maple syrup. These are just sugar.
Yep, just sugar. So enjoy a little dark chocolate as a treat. 70% or higher once in a while. It's good for you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I make a chocolate mousse. It's very easy to make from heavy whipping cream, dark cocoa powder, and a sweetener of your choice. You just combine, mix, and refrigerate, and it turns into this lovely, fatty mousse.
So what about pasta?
Well, pasta is something that a lot of people find hard to give up. We use shirataki noodles, which is made from a yam that looks and tastes like Asian rice noodles, not so much like spaghetti.
No, but slippery like a pad thai noodle.
Exactly. And you have to rinse them really well because they do smell a little funky. You could get used to the taste, but just rinse them, nuke them, rinse them, nuke them, do that a few times, and then use them as you would use pasta. But you really got to dry it out first so that you get all the water out of it.
Yeah.
We went to a Thai restaurant here in New London during Keto Fest, and we blew this Thai chef's mind who had never seen these before.
Yeah. He actually did a meal for Keto Fest, which was a pad thai, using shirataki and better stevia. Shirataki instead of his starch noodles, and better stevia instead of palm sugar, which he normally added to the sauce.
And it was amazing. And he liked shirataki noodles so much that he wanted to use them on his regular menu because they held together better than his pasta noodles, and the pasta noodles would break apart. Thai sauces take time to develop flavor, and so you like to soak it overnight, but the pasta falls apart, the rice noodles that he's using. So he's going to be using these from now on.
Yeah, and he even came out halfway through our meal and said, "Hey guys, I've just invented a new meal using traditional techniques, using your shirataki. Here, try this out. What do you think?" And we were blown away.
That's Bangkok City in New London, Connecticut, by the way. And there's a picture of the pad thai. It's just amazing. So for breading, we use a combination of 3 parts crushed pork rinds to 1 part Romano or Parmesan cheese, put it all in a blender or a food processor, and use it like you would use breadcrumbs with an egg wash and then in the breading mix, and fry chicken or fish in a 1/2 inch of avocado oil or olive oil.
And they remain crispy like panko crumbs. They're delicious.
And you can use pork rinds for other things too.
That's right. At Keto Fest, I made waffles with pork rinds. Now, pork rinds have got no right to be able to make waffles, but they do. Yes, it's unnatural, but it's delicious.
That's right. Alcohol, you want to moderate, and there's a lot of health reasons for that. Moderate alcohol is a good idea no matter what diet you're on. But alcohol pauses ketosis. If you're going to drink alcohol, the best thing to do is straight liquors, like that don't have any sugar. So we're talking about bourbon, vodka, whiskey, gin, unsweetened rums like Bacardi or Gosling's.
Yeah, beer is just liquid bread. It was invented by the Egyptians to make pyramids. So don't end up looking like a pyramid by drinking the stuff.
That's right. Wine is okay in moderation. It's 3 or 4 grams of carbs per glass. Just limit it to 1 or 2 glasses a day and you'll be fine.
Remember, your liver is doing a lot of work for ketogenic dieters. It is making your glucose, and it's making your ketones, and it's keeping the rest of your body alive. So be nice to your liver.
Yeah. Snacks, we kind of got used to not eating snacks, but when we do eat snacks, we eat stuff like macadamia nuts, almonds, a few peanuts. I don't even eat peanuts anymore, really.
No, peanuts are too carby for me.
Yeah, a little too carby. But what I like to do, and especially in the beginning, is take bacon and just make it and put it in the fridge. And whenever I get a little hungry, I want a snack, I just take a piece out and use it as a cracker, like for some cream cheese or some brie.
Nice,
You
yeah.
just one of those is all you need and your hunger's gone.
Once you get going on a ketogenic diet, you really don't need to snack much at all. But
Yeah.
in the early days at the beginning, when you're a little bit tentative and nervous about everything, go for it.
Another trick is if you get a little hungry, just take 1/8 of a teaspoon of good sea salt or some Himalayan pink salt or some rich mineral salt. Put it right on your tongue, let it dissolve, wash it down with some water. You'll be surprised at how good that makes you feel.
Yeah.
And this is a favorite staple of mine in my house, cheese crisps. Basically, you take a tablespoon of shredded Parmesan or Asiago or something like that, some garlic powder, you put them in a cupcake pan.
Right.
Just a little bit in the bottom of the cupcake tin and bake it for 10-20 minutes at 300 degrees Fahrenheit until they're crispy. Let them cool before you take them out. They'll pop right out if it's a nonstick pan. And, you can put some guacamole on that, some brie, some olive tapenade, or some other ketogenic spread. So here's some advice from the dudes.
Yeah. Wait as long as you can after waking up before you eat your first meal.
That's right. Eat salty, fatty protein like bacon, brie, ribeyes, cheese, that kind of thing.
When you feel full, stop eating.
And keep sweets with sugar-free sweeteners as a weekend treat. Try not to have them as a regular feature of your diet.
But if you do crack and you feel like binging, try overindulging on keto foods.
Absolutely. And if you fall off the horse, get right back on it with
Bacon and eggs.
And don't give up, whatever you do. Stay motivated. Listen to the podcasts.
Yeah.
Watch the YouTube videos that are out there. Get through fat adaptation. That's the key. So here's your homework if you really want to take this seriously. Talk to your doctor. Tell them you're going on a low-carb diet.
And get complete blood work. You want to get fasting insulin. You want to get a complete lipid profile. You want to find out your HbA1c.
Go ketogenic for 3 months.
As we told the people in San Antonio, we're coming back to retake their blood glucose and measure their progress and see how far they've come.
And this is what we're going to do in part 3.
Now we're paying it forward. We are doing a weekly 2 Keto Dudes podcast.
We just did an annual Keto Festival, our first one in New London, Connecticut in 2017.
Yep.
And now we're taking the message to corporate audiences across the world.
Yeah. If we can help your team, let us know.
Contact us by email at dudes@2ketodudes.com.